Alright, better late than never. Here is the Summerslam reaction video we promised. My name is Scotty, or Impervious, whatever you want to call me. And with me, as always, is.
The Great Goki, aka Vitamin G, the gangster of love, hotter than that coffee your grandmother might have spilled in her lap.
And once again, I don't know how to react to that, so gonna jump right to it. Alright, so SummerSlam, it happened. It was, in my opinion, bleh. Like, not much to talk about. What do you think?
No, um, I don't know. If you count the opening match, there's probably four solid matches. Everything else was just like filler you would see on Raw, minus Michael Cole talking about the WWE app.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly how I felt, is most of SummerSlam just felt like a Monday Night Raw that had less commercials. I mean, it, some of the there was no match that was really like horribly bad, but there was also nothing that was really like stand out other than the few that we chose to talk about.
Yes.
So, all right, I'm gonna just jump into the first match. Kane versus Bray Wyatt. I'll let you go first.
Well, it was an Inferno match, except no one got set on fire as expected.
And I, I know I said I'll let you go first, but I'm gonna jump in really quick.
Sure, sure.
Uh, I touched on it in the previous video that we did, where I said that I'm probably going to look back on the match after it happened and I'm going to be like, damn it, nobody got set on fire. The match was awkward because of the fire, and then it was pretty much just boring. And now that I'm looking back on it, that's pretty much what it was.
I thought the finish was kind of weird. Like, the fact that what's his name? Luke Harper. That's the black bearded guy, right? Luke Harper. Eric Rowan is the red haired guy.
Yeah.
Okay, like Luke Harper, he had a kendo stick and like he was trying to pass it into Bray Wyatt, and like he held it like he was roasting a marshmallow, and like he rolled it around back and forth in the fire, and like he kept like you could tell it wasn't catching fire. Like he kept pulling it back out to see, and it wasn't going, so he's rolling it around anymore. And then like he finally takes it out, and he gets this look like, oh no, they set it on fire. Like, dude, just throw it over the ropes.
Yeah.
Just chuck it over.
Well,
I've thrown many a kendo stick at my cat, so
well,
they,
that's
they
the
fly
thing.
easy.
That's the thing with most of that was just, I mean, yeah, okay, the fire was supposed to keep them from sliding in, but it's like you can throw shit over it. I mean, I don't know. It just felt awkward. Like I kind of figured it would, but I hoped that they would kind of. I don't know. I guess my problem is if you're gonna have an Inferno match or a Ring of Fire match, whatever the hell they want to call it, incorporate the fire into the match. You know, like tease it a bit. Like, oh my god, he's gonna get set on fire. Something, but don't just
Yeah.
kind of avoid it completely, and then the fire never comes into play. It's boring.
And here's the thing, like they're trying to say it's to keep them out, and then what do? They grabbed a fire retardant blanket apparently, and then
Yeah.
just climbed it anyway.
Well,
Like,
and that kind of pissed me off too because I don't know, personally to me, it kind of felt like it made Bray look weak. Like,
yeah.
I get like the stable is only supposed to get involved. I mean, that's part of the heel gimmick and everything, but I don't know. It came off as really weak to me. Like, the family jumps him, and that's the only way he can beat him. I felt like they were building him up so well that it kind of was a shitty finish.
Yeah. But like the weird part for me is like even though I sat there and I watched the match, it's almost like it never happened. Like the promo that I showed you earlier that they did about the whole Sister Abigail thing,
Yeah.
they ended up showing that on Raw tonight, and it's kind of like I'm like, oh man, Bray Wyatt's pretty awesome. Like I totally just forgot like he even had a match at SummerSlam. Like I just that week didn't happen.
Yeah, it really was like I mean, like I said, I touched on it in the other video where I predicted that it was probably just going to be boring, even though I was optimistic, and it was pretty much just forgettable. Like I look back on it, and I can't remember a single moment where I'm like, holy shit, or that was an awesome match or anything. It was just kind of there was flames. They went really high at a couple times, and yeah,
There's about four things that stood out for me in that match. The first thing is that Bray Wyatt is very flexible.
yeah,
The second thing is that Eric Rowan and Luke Harper are idiots because throw the fucking kendo stick over the top rope, dude. What are you doing?
yeah,
The third thing is that I was always suspicious of it. Like, okay, real quick, backtracking real quick again. Not only should he have thrown the kendo stick over the top rope, which probably weighs what, maybe like a quarter pound. Freaking the Undertaker threw himself over the top rope during Inferno matches and was fine. So come on, man.
Yeah,
Seriously. Okay, so the next thing, or the what was it? The third thing, my third thing, yeah.
third thing.
The the third thing that I noticed is that someone is operating the flames. Like I thought they like just turn on a gas thing or whatever, and they lit up, and then that was that. And whenever someone got slammed, it was probably the wind of or the force of them hitting the ring, making the flames go up. But there was a couple delayed times when it happened, so whoever was manning the fucking switch in there wasn't paying attention. So whenever the flames go whoosh and fly up in the air,
Oh yeah,
someone's got a trigger. I never noticed that before, but it was obvious this time. And
really?
it was really obvious this time. Someone had a trigger that was sending the fire up.
I always just assumed there was a pyro dude off, like the guy who usually sets off the pyro. I just figured he sat around with the button, waited for
Oh yeah,
somebody to get slammed and just.
yeah. That's probably it. I mean, I've gotten really into magic in the last couple of years, not necessarily doing it, but being able to figure out how like certain magic tricks work and stuff. And like I was watching old Buried Alive matches, for example, and I know like I get a good idea how some of those Buried Alive matches work, although it's never been like revealed how they work.
Oh, hidden compartment completely.
Oh yeah, but yeah. Well, there's like one in particular. I want to say it's Austin versus Undertaker. Like the entire grave area, like in the grave itself, like really plasticky looking roots. But in the original one with Mankind and Undertaker, like you could tell they took dirt and then they molded it and then they dug a freaking grave. But it looked really fake when Undertaker and Austin had a match, and I was like, okay, well here's probably how they did that, and et cetera, et cetera. I never ever like when I watched the Inferno matches, I was never like, I wonder how they did that. I was just like, oh look, gas heaters, they let the fire go. And like I totally didn't question it, but after seeing it, I was like, oh yeah, someone's on button there. And also, uh, I mean, sure they were okay. And the fourth thing, yeah, sure they were just fire. They were apparently firefighters, which is why the guys were just standing out there. But man, there was one guy who was just standing there. He looked like a freaking robot.
Yeah, the guy off to the corner.
Yeah, he totally looked like a wrestling extra that was just hired to just stand there.
The dude did not move, like,
I don't think he
ever.
blinked. Yeah, I don't
It's
even
like
think
he
he
was
blinked.
afraid to move. Like, oh my god, my job's on the line. If I clinch my ass, like they're gonna fire me or something. It was insane.
Yeah. Oh, and thing 4.5. Bray Wyatt comes to the ring with an electric lantern that he blows on and the light goes out, which is kind of weird. But then he leaves the match by lighting a legit lantern.
That, yeah, I guess I didn't really catch that part. I mean,
I'm,
I caught the part, like, I really love the Wyatt family entrance, like,
yes.
we're here and all that stuff.
Yes.
And I caught that he comes out with the electric lantern, and I tried to catch a few times, like when he blows and then it goes out. Like I keep looking to see like if he's switching it off or like how that works. But
There's probably a switch on the side or on the bottom.
that's what I'm assuming. Like he always seems to have his hand on the bottom, so I'm assuming there's a button. But I didn't really catch that he lit a lantern when they left.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. I used to like I kind of wonder like why does he have an electric lantern? Did the pyro guys not allow him to carry fire to the ring? And if so, then why this time was okay? I guess because there was fire in the ring. And if that was the case, why couldn't he carry fire down for the entrance and the exit?
Well, they probably don't want him walking around with a propane lantern or anything in front of the fans.
Yeah, that's true. Well, apparently they sent Chainsaw Charlie out with a gas-filled chainsaw that was shooting sparks. He was covered in gasoline and could have ignited himself, but
Well, how'd you feel about the ending of the match? Like they just kind of dragged Kane off.
yeah. Well, they did that in NXT also when they were feuding with oh, what is his name? They were feuding with Pac, who's going by Adrian Neville now, and whoever his partner was, which I'm going to have to Wikipedia here in just a second.
I
But
don't know. It just came off as awkward to me. Like, I mean, like I said, we predicted that he'd be set on fire, and that would kind of set him off to go film his movie or whatever. But
yeah.
dragging him off, like, they already come across as kind of like that deliverance, like stereotype, from the movie.
Oh yeah.
And so to just see him carry Kane off, and then hear the announcer sitting there saying, "Where are they taking him?"
Yeah.
I don't know. It came off a
Oliver
little weird.
Oliver Gray is the partner that they beat up. Um, what they did in NXT is they beat up Oliver Gray, and then they just kind of drug him off like they did with Kane. But then they dumped him on the stage, and then he was gone. I don't even know if Oliver Gray's back on NXT yet. Like they had Adrian Neville have a substitute partner, which was Bo Dallas, who ironically is Bray Wyatt's real life brother, lose the title. So then the Wyatt family got the tag titles for NXT, and I guess they lost them to Adrian Neville, or not Adrian Neville, to yeah, Adrian Neville and Corey Graves. So that's kind of weird, but yeah, the dragging the guy off thing, that's kind of what they did in NXT also.
Hmm.
So
I don't
I'm
know.
not surprised they reused it.
It works, I guess. I mean, Kane's off TV. He goes films his movies, so it's all good. I don't know. It came off as awkward, like for as far as like writing him off TV, but
Yeah, I think they could have done better. I have a feeling it has to do with the whole PG thing.
it most likely, yeah. I mean, I should have known they weren't going to set a guy on fire, and I kind of, assumed that they wouldn't, but I was hoping that they would just to have that excitement. But well, I don't know. The match isn't that good to talk about, so Punk
Yeah.
Lesnar. What do you
Uh,
think?
I think that was probably the best match on the card, in my opinion. I think that for a guy who only wrestles like twice a year, Lesnar really delivered.
I I honestly was going in, I think I said it in the other video that I wasn't optimistic about the match because I haven't liked any of Lesnar's previous matches since he's been back.
Hmm.
And I honestly thought that was the best match he's had since he's been back. Like, it worked well enough to where I was worried that Punk was just going to look super weak. I mean, he's obviously the smallest guy he's fought. And I, for a while there, in the match, they made it work. Like I sat there watching it thinking, yeah, he could totally beat Lesnar right now. Even though I kind of figured Lesnar would beat him, it still kind of made me suspend belief. Like a
I,
guy Punk size could beat him.
you know what made that match, in my opinion, the fact that, and maybe this is my combat sports side coming out, and I'm gonna say something ironic about TNA here in just a moment, but I think it's the fact that a lot of people know that CM Punk is training in Gracie Jiu Jitsu, and people that are familiar with Lesnar from his UFC days also know that the Gracie started UFC, and Royce Gracie freaking dominated forever. So why? And he was a little guy, so why couldn't CM Punk beat a bigger guy with jujitsu? And jujitsu is intended for smaller people also. Like originally, well, I shouldn't say jujitsu itself, but jujitsu is the Gracie style is for smaller people. Like Royce Gracie learned from his older brother Rorian, or Helio. No, that was his dad's name. Anyway, Gracie learned from his brother, who was a bigger person than him, and then he developed the Gracie style based on traditional jujitsu because he was smaller. So I think that made it a little legit. The ironic thing is while they started mixing MMA stuff into that match, people still totally shit on the fact that there's two MMA guys, well, three MMA guys in TNA right now, which is hilarious.
Yeah, but they don't even do anything.
I know. I just think it's like I
Well,
try to get not to get caught up in the whole fanboy thing because I really don't like TNA and I really don't like WWE so much these days either.
yeah,
But like it's just hilarious. People are like, man, they got MMA guys in TNA. Bullshit, man. They had MMA in that match. Greatest match ever.
yeah. I don't. I won't go too much into the MMA TNA thing right now, but I don't know. I guess the MMA thing worked in the match. I can't really pinpoint what it was. I just thought they worked really well together, to be
Hmm.
honest. Like I didn't expect them to because the way that Lesnar's matches have gone since he's come back, they're so boring. The matches against Triple H and Cena, it was just punch, 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 punch. And I mean, it's professional wrestling. We know it's fake, or I shouldn't say fake. We know it's choreographed or whatever, finishes are determined beforehand.
Yeah,
But to see guys fake punching each other nonstop, that shit's boring. Like,
yeah,
you gotta have some wrestling in there, otherwise, it just becomes a fake fight that's not very well choreographed. So, the matches against Cena and Triple H, that's why I just really didn't like them. But for some reason, whenever I don't know what reason it is, but for he fights Punk and all of a sudden he busts out like he's a wrestler again, and I really liked it. I thought it was his best match.
I think the problem is since he's been back from the UFC, people, they're trying to build him off as this legit like fighter. Like they try to do it with Ken Shamrock and Dan Severn, but both of those guys were wrestlers also.
Hmm.
But like Ken Shamrock was doing fucking Frankensteiners and shit like that. Dan Severn was not, but he was really slow and methodical in his approach. Because he wrestled Greco-Roman style in WWE and in UFC also. So like Lesnar was a ground and pound guy in the UFC for the most part. Like even though he is an NCAA champion, et cetera, et cetera, he would just grab a guy, hold him on the ground, and then just pummel the shit out of their face. So I'm thinking that they were like, oh man, how can we make Cena and Triple H look tough against Lesnar? I don't know. Let's have him go toe to toe instead of actually wrestling like wrestlers do.
Yeah, but Cena didn't even really go toe to toe. He just got the shit kicked out of him for 15 minutes, hit him with a chain and AA on the steps, and he beat him.
Yeah.
That's
Well, okay. Here's a question for you. So people are comparing Cena to Hulk Hogan, and I do believe that Cena's time on top is either equal to or greater than Hulk Hogan's now in the 80s. What's worse? The fact that Cena like hardly never loses clean and any of that other stuff, or the fact that like Hulk Hogan, not only would he not lose clean, but he would take a guy's finish, get up on one knee, breathe heavy, and start huffing and puffing and finger waggling, and then do the leg drop and still win. What was worse?
I would. I don't know. Maybe it's nostalgia, like kicking in, but I would say Cena is worse.
Really?
Yeah, I honestly do think that because I don't know. When I would watch a Hulk Hogan match, and I wasn't even a fan of Hulk Hogan when I was a kid,
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan was kind of a cartoon character to me.
Yeah.
My guys that I watched when I was a kid and like rooted for were guys like Piper, Macho Man, Sting, Razor Ramon, those types of guys. So I don't know. Seeing Hulk Hogan fight whenever I would watch one of his matches, that was like watching a cartoon, really. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Watching Cena now, maybe it's because I'm older and I'm watching it, is just it's boring and it's stale. Like I honestly think he would be fine if they would just change him up a little bit. Like let him change his moveset, let him lose some matches. I mean, if he's gonna always be the underdog, really be the underdog.
But hey, at least he's gone for 6 months, right?
Hell yeah.
It's
So,
not a year, but hey,
well, maybe uh, him being away will make him feel fresh when he comes back and does the same old shit.
yeah, I don't know. Speaking on Hogan, I wasn't really a big Hogan guy either when I was younger. Sadly, I was more of an Ultimate Warrior fan if I had to pick out of the top guys in those days. But my actual favorites, and I wasn't like right now I'm one of those guys who dig the heels, but like when I was younger, I wasn't. But like my favorites were still Roddy Piper, Jake the Snake, and like the Rockers. Those were like they were my shit back then. I was like, oh man, the Rockers.
Jake the
Which
Snake creeped me the hell out when I was a kid, man.
I think that's why I liked him. I don't know. It was weird.
I
I,
didn't dislike him. I just whenever he came out, he was one of those guys where I was so little that I'd sit there and be like, oh, it's Jake the Snake, no.
yeah, there's only two guys that did that with me: The Undertaker and fucking Papa Shango.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, Papa Shango scared the crap out of me. Anyway, I was gonna say real quick. Speaking of the Rockers, I will admit a deep dark secret. I did cry when the Rockers broke up. I was like, Sean, no, what are you doing?
Lame.
I cried. Let's see. They broke up in what was it, 1990, I think. So I would have been like 7, 8, I think, 7 or 8. So
Oh,
yeah,
I
I was
have
pretty
no
little.
idea.
I cried. I cried. I was like, no, no, why'd you throw Marty through the window? And then, ironically, I had to like because I was a little like we had our own little wrestling group when I was that young. Me and my tag team partner, I had to book us breaking up. But because I was the ultimate hero of our little fed, I had to make sure I was the one betrayed. So I was like, "You got to throw me through the window." Thankfully,
So
that
you
didn't
wanted to
happen.
be the Marty Jannetty.
I did. I liked Marty better, but yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
2020, man.
I was wrong. Well, Marty Jannetty's still okay. He just really bad career moves.
Yeah.
and kind of bland on the microphone.
Well, that's for sure, man. Some of the WCW stuff I was watching the other day. But anyway, trying to keep it to a half hour, jump to Bryan versus Cena and the finish of the pay per view. What'd you think?
As I said earlier, I think it's interesting that people are co-opting Kenta's finishers and trademarks, but I did not expect him to get the win with the Busaiku knee kick. Like I saw him do the knee, and I was like, I didn't even be like, oh, he's kicking out. Oh, he's not kicking out. It was no reaction. It was just like that's a move that he does all the time as like a regular strike. He does it off the apron, and all kinds of stuff. So I didn't even pay no mind to it. Then I'm like, holy shit, he won.
Can I just say, like, I know I'm not really a big fan of guys like co-opting other guys' moves either, but I think that for Bryan, that really works. Like, he's got a great like chant going with the yes, 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 no, 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 and all that stuff.
Hmm.
But like, there's those moments in a match where you kind of get those little goosebumps because it's like, damn, this is really working. Like the
Yeah,
excitement is there.
yeah.
And I felt like that match was really good. And by the time it got to that, and he started doing the yes, yes, yes in the corner, I was sitting there going, "Oh, please, just kick him right in the goddamn face and pin him." And then he just runs up to him and knees him in the face. I was like, "Holy crap! That should just be his finisher all the time." Like, I know he just basically co-opted a guy's move, but
Yeah.
it works really well. Like, it works as well as like a sweet chin music or something. You have that
Yeah.
build up like of the chant, the crowd's getting into it, and then boom, strike to the face.
Yeah. And with him being a little guy, it legit works. That's why it worked for Kenta also.
Yeah,
Um,
he doesn't have to power move a guy like Cena into a finish.
yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I have to give Cena credit because, the next night on Raw, he did have the general miss elbow, and it was pretty nasty. So, I mean, if I was in his position, I'd have been like, "Fuck that! I'm getting surgery, dude."
Yeah. Well, I
So yeah,
mean, I've like you said, I've got nothing against the guy personally. Obviously, I don't know who the hell the guy is, but
yeah.
I'm just talking about characters on TV. So,
Oh yeah, yeah,
as a
yeah,
character on TV, he just bores the living crap out of me. So,
yeah. I shit on Cena a lot. I'm sure he's a pretty chill dude too and everything. But yeah, man, fucking, I wouldn't have been out there. And then the next night, seeing Cara with this fucking dislocated finger, he's like, "Oh, my hand," and it's like, dude, John Cena, he probably couldn't even move his damn arm. I mean, sure, he was the guy that's the face of the company, but still, come on, man, pop that finger back into place and get in there. Let Alberto Del Rio kick you in the face and tap you out. That's.
I almost got to feel bad for that guy at this point. I mean, my goodness. Like,
Oh man, I saw him do that dive, and he held his hand. He's like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Oh no, look at his fingers."
like
So yeah, I
nothing.
knew something was wrong.
Nothing he does works. Like, ever since he came into the WWE and changed his name to Sin Cara, I'm just like, my God, what happened to this guy?
Fake Sin Cara is better than real Sin Cara, and that's
And it's
tragedy.
true. Like, somebody just put Hunico. Right, isn't that him? Hunico?
Yeah,
Yeah, just put him back under the damn mask. Be
yeah, they need
done.
to. But yeah, go before I get on my Sin Cara rant. I want to like Sin Cara, man. It's just, I want to like the guy. Anyway, back to the main to the Danielson and or Daniel Bryan and Cena there. Like most of the match was pretty good. I think that Cena tends to work better with guys that are smaller than him. Like I don't know if Edge was too much smaller than him, but like Edge worked real well with Cena, and then of course Punk worked real well with Cena.
Well, what did you think about the finish, though? Like, I mean, obviously, Brian won. And
Oh
then,
yeah,
of course, the big shocking ending that Orton says we would never see coming, even though we predicted it days before. And I even predicted it on Twitter right before the match.
yeah. Everybody saw that coming. I think.
Yeah, like, and I just want to say, like, it's one of those moments where in wrestling it gets to a point where there's a lot of predictability, like in certain areas.
Well, you
But
have to do that sometimes.
yeah, well, and that's what I mean. It's like there's those moments where it's predictable because it's the best route to go.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
called
mean,
booking logic.
yeah, and that's the situation here. Like, I saw a lot of people just freaking out. And it's like, just calm the hell down. Would you rather see Brian have the belt and then, what, fight Orton a couple times at the pay per view and then probably lose it to him? Or would you rather he just loses it now in a big screw job and then he gets to be the ultimate face for what, probably leading all the way to WrestleMania or something? I
Yep.
mean, I would be shocked at this point if Daniel Bryan didn't turn around and win the Royal Rumble so that he could you know, beat Orton finally at Mania.
Yeah, I think I mean, it bums me out, but on the other hand, I'm behind the way it goes too, only for the simple fact that it's sometimes better for a face to chase a heel for the title.
Yeah,
And also, since Cena's out now, that gives them 6 months to find a new top guy. I mean, their only other best guy is CM Punk, and he's got that thing with Paul Heyman going on right now. So you can pretty much count him out of the title race, at
yeah,
least for a while. So they need someone else. And while Orton is super bland and everything like that, this is good for Danielson. It's kind of like when Steve Austin broke his neck, between The Rock and Triple H, who was going to be the next top guy. Turned out to be The Rock, but and then, later than The Rock left, then, Austin came back, and then Austin was gone again. And Triple H was able to maneuver into that spot for a while. Not very successfully, in my opinion, but I mean, he was there for a while, I guess.
yeah. Well,
They
and
tried to bring Undertaker back, but he was starting to break down.
like I said, that's the thing is that it's predictable, but it's predictable because it's the best way to go. And I mean,
Yes.
it's gonna get Brian even more over with the crowd than he already is. He gets to feud with a big corporation style stable, kind of like Austin, got to with McMahon. So I
Yeah.
mean, and it's probably the most exciting thing they've had going in a long time.
Yeah, it's it's pretty interesting, I think. I mean, it could be worse.
Yeah, it
But
could definitely be worse.
yeah. But going back to his finisher real quick, I think it's good that he's using that. I actually hope he stops doing the diving headbutt and using that, and he starts using that instead. So he's got an alternate finish. But because that whole thing with Benoit, the headbutt, you're kind of like, don't do the headbutt. Like even Harley Race, who apparently invented the diving headbutt, was all like, "I'd wish I'd never invented that damn move."
Yeah, but
My Harley
doesn't
Race impression isn't good yet, but I'm working on it.
he doesn't really use it as a finisher though. It's kind of like his top rope move, that and a drop kick.
Yeah. Well, Benoit, that was one of his original finishes, and then he kind of started to incorporate it in between that and the crossface. So, like in matches where he wouldn't tap a guy out, he'd beat him with a headbutt.
Yeah,
Because the way it worked, a lot of the guys who were in the lower weight that were more versatile, guys like Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn, Chris Jericho, you have a strike finish and you have a submission finish typically. Like that was their deal. Like they had a strike finisher and then a submission finisher. Dean Malenko was the exception. I actually do not think he used anything except the clover leaf.
I don't think he did.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know. I'm
well,
glad that he has a strike finish now because I mean, like I said, there's some guys that he's not gonna be able to tap out, like just from they're never gonna book him to tap a guy like Cena out. So it's good that he has a strike finisher that he can just you know I don't want to say pull out of nowhere, but something like what HBK had.
yeah, and I'm giving a little bit of shit to the guy stealing Kenta's moves, but it's funny because Kenta actually started using the yes lock. He calls his the game over though.
That's still
So
fair. I mean, pretty much everybody's doing it, so why not?
yeah,
All right,
it's just
so
ironic because usually it goes the other way around. It's, you got American guys stealing moves from guys in other countries, not vice versa. But
yeah. So really quick, we don't have a lot of time before I cut us off. 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5. What do you predict, or what do you say for SummerSlam?
three,
3. I'm pretty sure that's what
yeah,
you predicted. So
yeah, it wasn't a SummerSlam to me.
yeah, I
Like
I predicted 4 out of 5. I was trying to be optimistic, but I would say 3.
yeah, SummerSlam is one of the big four pay-per-views. Royal Rumble has to be great. WrestleMania has to be great. SummerSlam has to be great, and Survivor Series has to be great. It wasn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it great, but I do feel like it had two good, if not great, matches with Punk, Lesnar, and Bryan Cena. But overall,
How
the
many
pay per view was just
how many matches were on the card?
like 8.
See, two out of eight good matches. That's no good for me, man. Not on
No,
one of those big four pay-per-views. You need at least 4 out of 8 to be a good pay-per-view to me.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was all right, but it wasn't amazing. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and
It,
cut us off really quick and start the Raw reaction. All right.
yes, yes.
All right. So probably within a day or two, you'll see a Monday Night Raw video.